I'll still take
Okay,
this.
I knew you would. Yeah, I knew you would. All right. Yeah, so we just getting our live out the way, and 8 o'clock will officially start. Not sure. Hey, no, you said you can. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Yep. So, there we go. No. Yeah. Cheers. Cheers, sir. All right. Man, what you got, Jay Ferg? Some port wine?
Nah, I'm actually drinking a little whiskey today. I got some Clyde Miller.
Some who?
It's some Alabama whiskey.
Alabama whiskey.
Yeah,
Alabama for Bama.
and bro,
No, Chris, I told him no. Take her. He has some Jesus sandals.
Hey,
Jesus.
hey, y'all leave my sandals alone. All right. Yeah, all right. Y'all can have jokes if y'all want. Oh, you know what?
They're probably saying your feet ashy as hell.
Hey, watch yourself, man. Watch yourself. Mm-hmm. I was gonna vote for Trump in 2024. Now you fucked that up.
Oh.
yeah.
Hey, it don't matter for me. You ain't got to vote for him. You pay the price.
Yeah. I know. Let me make sure. Damn, how far back did it go? Yeah. Hey.
Man, I got the cicadas going crazy tonight.
On an hour, 8 o'clock. Welcome to people that we got on so far. I am Mr. Petworth and got my co-host Lanessa Terry right next to me. We'll introduce the man to my right, your left later on in the show. Got Mr. Rob, Big Rob. Wait, was on the line. Actually, he's on the line. He's on viewership. Jay Ferg, we're gonna start with you, man. How life treating you? How life treating you, man?
Am I muted? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I'm good, man. Life is great out here in in the backyard in the new studio, breaking it in for the first time on the show.
Right. I hear you. Okay. Anything else going on, man? How's things with Destination Herb going?
Destination Herf is coming along beautifully. We're getting more excited. We're getting a lot more inquiries. People are asking a lot of questions.
Right.
Tomorrow is the last day to get your early bird tickets. After tomorrow, early bird tickets will not be available. So I've been posting that for the past few weeks. Just so for the slow people in the back, tomorrow is
Right.
the last day to get your early bird tickets.
All right. So what's going on with the early bird tickets? What's
So
the
basically,
cost?
with the early bird tickets, you save $75 on your weekend pass. So
All right.
that's a good little deal right there.
Oh yeah, no doubt. That is, man. Matter of fact, the next show we'll start sharing the link, so people can, not so much the early bird, but that definitely can work on getting the tickets. Certainly, something you don't want to miss. Jay Susie said it looked like she owe you a call.
Susie been ignoring me lately. I don't know what I did, but she's been ignoring me.
Susie, you better go in the hiding, girl. Hey, Rob, what's happening with you, man?
Everything is groovy, man. Everything is groovy. It's just life. Sometimes life, has its ups, has its downs. I'm in a low point right now, but
Yeah.
like the saying says, it's hard to keep a good man down. So,
Nah, that's no doubt there, man. How's your weekend?
everything's good. It was quiet. I got some yard work done.
Yeah.
I was itching about. I'm trying to prepare. When you own a house, man, like you got to make sure the gutters are clean. And got to make sure all the landscaping is done. We starting to head into the rainy season, and there's always something to do.
Right.
My daughter's starting school.
How's that hot sauce coming along?
It's coming along. I got my reapers. They're doing their thing. They're just slow growing plants. Peppers take a long time to grow. So my jalapenos are cranking out, but my reapers are taking a little bit longer because they're the hottest pepper in the world. I guess they like to take their time. Ain't nobody gonna rush them.
Right on. I hear you. Yeah, I gotta check that out. Vanessa, what's going on with you?
Right now, I'm doing real good. I'm smoking the 50th, the drone 50th. Compliments of our special guest today. I'm excited about that. So I'm enjoying myself over here today. But I had a good weekend as well.
Right.
And it's Virgo season. So shout out to all the Virgos.
Yeah.
Listening today. It's our season, so I have a birthday that comes up next week that I'll share.
Right.
And a few other things coming later this month. So.
Hey, Rob, I'm gonna need a favor. I'm gonna need an audio check from you. How's the audio sounding from our end? I know we got a lot of background, so I just wanted to check that out.
Yeah, your audio is pretty good as long as you lean up there. You got an audience there in the back, so
Right.
good.
All right.
You're good.
Problem. All right. All right. Hey, so anyway, I'm Mr. Petworth. We're officially starting the show. So excited to have the man of the hour on with us. And he is certainly a great person to get to know. A lot of, misconceptions here and there, but certainly we got him on the show. Appreciate he took the time to come sitting here at Petworth with us to do the show. So just to give you a little backdrop, I know he can do this himself, but born in India, a lot of things I had to look up myself and get, talking with him. And parents migrated when he was about 2 years old. Is that right, sir? All right. And raised in Atlantic City, New Jersey, moved to Philadelphia. That's why he's an Eagles fan. I take it. Rob, I'm sure you like that if you don't like anything else, doggone it. But being from Philadelphia myself, hey, appreciate you, Raj. And then the last stop was in Delaware, where we have the most coveted lounge in Delaware, Cigar, right? Yeah, right. And degree in finance in accounting. Maybe a lot of people know that. They don't know that. I know he does numbers well, crunch numbers, and being a mathematician from Penn State University.
University of Delaware. University of Delaware.
Yeah, he gonna throw that University of Delaware on me. I know that. No. I'm Penn State. All right. Just had to get. But certainly we thank him for coming on. Without further ado, just wanted to introduce a little bit about Raj. But Raj, man, what's going on with you?
Well, I appreciate the invite up here. I know you asked me a while ago and didn't get time to come up, but I'm glad to make the time now.
I appreciate it.
I'm glad to be up here, but everything's been going well. Business is going well. Had a little boy about 18 months ago, so he's growing up nice and healthy.
And looking good, by the way. Certainly the pictures, man. I love the look. The hats. And
that goes out to my wife. She
all right. Well, look, man, I got some things I want to address on the business side, and but I'm gonna get that out later. But I'm gonna turn it over to Lanessa, our co-host, and see what she got for you.
Well, I got something for both of you. So Chris, you have a relationship with Raj prior to Petworth Cigars. So
Actually, I
tell
do.
us a little bit about that?
Well, you know what? So I worked at the Tinderbox pre-Raj, and worked for Jeff for a while, and then Raj came in and worked a year under his tenure. And one of the things that I have to say in working that year, you don't work a year for somebody coming in that's new and not watch how he does things. You know, watch the way he works, watch the way he moves, watch the way he probably didn't know I was watching him to such a magnitude that it got me to this point right here. And you got to appreciate something like that because you know behind the scenes and looking at some of the changes that were made for the good, and watching the business moves, how he talks, and people think that business individuals that are shrewd are just shrewd in butthole. No, you're shrewd for a reason because you're guarded about what you have just bought, what you have just put your money into, to guard your profit, to guard your business, and to do things to make it grow, prosper, and not only grow and prosper, but looking at the part of how you take care of your customers and how you grow that aspect and turn it into something that, it's like a child. You just had a newborn. He has to nurture that child till he grows to the point that, he becomes self-sufficient. And so, if you don't never understand it, then you won't get the upside of business and even the downside of the business.
Absolutely. So you and Raj were co-workers?
No, Raj is my boss.
No, she was right. We worked together.
We work together, yeah. Well, I like and I like that. That's one thing I appreciate about him. So
So how was he as a boss?
Great. I mean, honestly, because he not only was a great person to work for, a great boss, but things came with that along the way. You learn things. You got taught things. I have to give a shout out to Josh because even before Raj got there, when I started working at the Tinderbox, I learned a hell of a lot about cigars from Josh. Not just smoking, but the dude could, differences, whatever it is you can learn, you take that from anybody.
Big shout out to Josh.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta give it to him, man. I literally could not make it survive or even talk my way through this industry without some of the things I learned at the Tinderbox.
Okay.
Jay Bird.
Yes, sir.
What's happening, man?
Well, on this show, unfortunately, I know of the Tinderbox. I haven't had the pleasure of visiting the Tinderbox yet. I heard the name Raj thrown around the industry a few times, so it's definitely a pleasure to meet you. And when I get back to the DMV, I had to make it a point to get over there and check out your store. But my question is, what got you? What made you decide to come to the cigar business?
So it was right after college. So my parents were always in the tobacco business with the primary focus on cigarettes. So I always worked for him since I was 9 years old. I mean, I never had a 9 to 5. I worked for him since I was 9 years old. So growing up in retail was in my genes from a very early age. Worked for him throughout elementary school, middle school, high school, college even. But at that time, you're just, you're doing what he's telling you. So I went to college, came back with my degree. Now I got some education, so I know what I'm looking at. So one day I asked him, can I see your books? And he opened up his books. I started reading some of his numbers and his figures, and I pointed something out to him. I was like, is this number right? And he's like, what are you talking about? I was like, to make $1,000 in cigarettes, you got to invest $10,000? Am I reading that right? He's like, yeah, it's about right. Or ROI is 10% or sometimes less.
Right, and I have to let people understand what that ROI is.
Return on investment.
There you go. Return on investment.
So then I was looking at his other categories, and I know there's premiums. I was like, well, what about premiums? He's like, well, I don't know much about it. I was like, well, you put in 100 and you make 100. Is that right? He's like, yeah. I was like, we need to focus on this. I was like, I don't know why we're not focusing on premiums when it's a lot less investment and a lot better profits. He's like, well, I don't smoke cigars, so I don't know. I was like, don't worry, I'll start.
So your first cigar was an Ashton VSG, am I correct?
Ashton VSG. Wow, that's the first. Yeah. I mean, it's a very romanticized type of industry. Like, you come from cigarettes where everything's so commercialized, so heavily regulated. Basically, Philip Morris, R.J. Reynolds, they want everything pretty much like the key to your store. They want to run your store how they want to see it run. Where the cigar industry at that time was still very much family oriented, family based. it's like, hey, we appreciate you buying our cigars. This is where our cigars come from. These are our tobaccos we use. These are the people that rolled it. It was a whole story behind it. So I fell in love with just the story behind the cigar. And then when you actually get to smoke the product, you can see that it's a cleaner tobacco. There's no chemicals in it. It's not meant to stay fresh for 18 months in the air like cigarettes. I mean, you can leave a cigar for one day, and if you don't humidify, it's basically done. So there's a lot of passion and a lot of thought that goes into making this product. So you can actually taste it, you can feel it when you smoke a cigar, and that's what I fell in love with the first time I smoked a cigar. So then, fast forward a little bit, put a humidor in stores, did really well. Fast forward a little bit longer, opened up the first cigar lounge in Delaware, called Cigar. It's still there today. It's on Delaware Avenue. And
how many years have been open?
Since 2008.
Wow.
We were actually the first cigar lounge in Delaware open, and it took all about 2 years to get the licensing done. Because Delaware at that time still is very proud of being a clean indoor smoking area.
Wow.
Jay Ferg, you done?
Yeah, I'm done. I was just, like I said, I want to get a little background on them a little bit, you know?
And definitely interesting. I'm going to follow up with some questions in regards to that after Rob. Rob, how you doing, man? Again.
Pretty good, sir. Pretty good.
Man, what do
You
you
know,
have
I have a little bit of an extensive history with Raj, much like yourself. You know, Jeff, the previous owner, was actually my best friend, and he was the best man in my wedding, the whole 9 yards. Like the circles that I ran in with Jeff and his friends and stuff like that. It was just, you know, we go all the way back to the mall. So, you know, when Raj moved in, it was like a warm feeling. It was almost like, changing hands, but, other than looks, it was like almost the same warm type of brotherhood type of personality. And that's one of the things that I always liked about Raj, is that you could talk to him about anything. I could talk to you about anything, Raj. I don't mean to talk about you like you're in the third person, like you're not here. But I'm digging the Hermes belt buckle. That's pretty fly. You know what I mean? I'm sporting my bling bling tonight too, because if those that don't know, the Tinderbox is a Sigma house. So so we appreciate that. So my question for you, my first question, because I've got a few. My first question for you is, what were your expectations when you purchased the Tinderbox? I know that you put a lot of hours in, you work a lot of time there, you spend a lot of time there, you have your hands into everything, and I know you have to in order to know what's going on. Have things turned out the way that you thought they would so many years later now?
Yeah, so when I bought Tinderbox, there was a certain level of expectation that I came in with, only because after going through the whole deal with Jeff and seeing his books and seeing what he's done and seeing what he's grown, a lot of people would have thought that, at that point, Tinderbox was at its max. You can't go anywhere else but down. But I saw a different angle. I saw a clientele that is being serviced to a degree, but not really being serviced properly. I saw gaps in certain parts of his business where they could be grown exponentially, and I saw things that we could do differently that might entice more clientele. So we put all that plans into action, and 8 years later, here we are, and we're right at where we looked at when I first came in 8 years ago. And we're still growing. I mean, there's no ceiling to where I'm looking to hit. I'm looking to hit the moon.
That's right.
Okay.
What else you guys say?
You want me to keep going?
Let me do this. Let me stop right there, because actually it's an interesting story in regards to knowing that the Tinderbox actually was not for sale at the time, and it's kind of a little history behind that, little funny story behind it, because I'm gonna let Raj go ahead and tell it, Raj, if you don't mind.
So prior to Tinderbox, I had bought and sold businesses for a few years prior, so kind of knew how everything worked, nothing different. I went into the Tinderbox deal. First of all, it was never on the market. Jeff never put the store on the market. It was never for sale. It just kind of happened to be where we had a common friend, and I mentioned to this friend, say, hey, Tinderbox is awesome. I checked it out this weekend. You know, by any chance, if it's ever for sale by the owner, let me know. I'd be interested. Not thinking it would accumulate to anything, because if I had that store, I would never sell it. But 2 weeks later, I got a call from my friend. He says, "Hey, I spoke to Jeff, and he said he'd be willing to entertain an offer if you're interested." And I was kind of taken aback, and I said, "Well, all right, let's start the process." So, without getting into all the gory details, this deal was literally the hardest deal I've ever done in my life when it came to Jeff Lustig. That man, first of all, the man called off the deal no less than 6 times. It took over a year to get this deal done. He called it off 6 times, stormed out a couple times.
That sounds just like him.
Yeah. And he wouldn't even pick up my phone calls at times. And I just thought sometimes this deal was done. And he would, at the 11th hour, call me back and say, "Hey, you still want to do this or not?" I was like, "Sure." So it got to a point. I mean, we hashed through all the details, and we're at the final stage. And I send Jeff the contract for closing. A typical business contract closing is about 8 to 9 pages. A lot of it's just legal jargon, just to protect both buyer and seller, but mainly it's from my lawyer, so protecting me legally. Jeff calls me back and he says, "What the fuck is this?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, No. I want a closing contract that's 1 page, single space, 12 fonts. I was like, "You want me to fit all this on 1 page?" He's like, "No, not you. Your lawyer. That's what you're paying for, right?" And I said, "Okay, all right." He's like, if it's not on 1 page, single space, deal's off. And this is like almost a year into it at this point. I'm like, I'm not letting this go just because you can't figure out the contract. So I go to my lawyer and I says, "Hey, you know the contract you wrote for Tinderbox?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Can you condense it?" He's like, "Okay, what do you want?" I was like, "Can you put it all on 1 page, 12 font, single space?" He started laughing. I was like, "No, I'm serious." He's like, "I can't willingly protect you and your interests on 1 page. You know that." I was like, "I get it." I was like, "At this point, let's just roll the dice because it's not going to happen yet." So he fit what he could on 1 page, and he sent it to Jeff, and Jeff agreed, and we went to closing, and the rest is history.
So basically, on your way to your store in King George,
Yeah.
in the middle of a blizzard.
Yeah, I was driving. We had a store in King George, a tobacco shop.
Yeah.
And I was driving. I make my routine trips there once a month. So from Delaware to King George, it's about a 3-hour trip. Me and my wife left one day in February. It started snowing like hell. I mean, out of nowhere, it was like 2 feet of snow on the ground in less than an hour. So all my appointments that I had scheduled got canceled, and we still made it to obviously King George. But on the way, and my wife was like, "Hey, well, you know, all your appointments are canceled. Nothing's open. Did you want to do something? Do you want to grab a drink or some food?" Oh, and it didn't run on my bell because I always passed Tinderbox through Waldo on my way to King George. And I always used to wonder, like, who the hell opened up a cigar lounge in Waldo, Maryland, of all places, not knowing Tinderbox what it was. So that day, I said, "You know what? There is a spot. It's called Tinderbox, and it's a cigar lounge. They might be open." So, mind you, it's dead February, dead winter, 2.5 feet of snow on the ground, nothing but emergency vehicles outside on the road. So I'm like, "Let me call him." So I called, and Jeff picked up the Tinderbox. I was like, "Hey, are you guys open?" He's like, "I picked up the phone, didn't I?" I was like, "Fair enough." I said, I'll be there shortly. So me and my wife walk in. Now, mind you, 2 feet of snow on the ground, state of emergency, and there's no less than 50 people inside smoking. And that piqued my interest.
I believe I actually worked that day because Jeff said whoever can make it in, come in.
Yeah.
And I remember when you and Sherry actually came in.
And then the other part was I ordered a drink, and it was damn near to the top of the glass. And I told my wife, I was like, "This bartender messed up. They gave me a 4-ounce pour for like $10. So she was like, we were just all taking the back. That's what snowballed.
Yeah. So, man, in terms of your mindset for business, and I pretty much know it. A lot of people don't understand it. I get it. Just being here, and you really had an epic statement when it came to. Well, matter of fact, I definitely took care of that already. We had a lot of background noise, so I had to cut the music in the lounge, and I appreciate one of the Jamie Boyles Kennedy. Thank you for that. and I appreciate that, man. But you have a great business mind, great business model. It's evident, in what you have turned the Tinderbox into. Explain a little bit of your concepts in terms of, the vision that you had back then and down to where it is now, what you have possibly for the future, if you can divulge any of that.
So when we came in first, and we took a snapshot of Tinderbox, and when I say we, I mean me and my wife, because we're two. So when we came in, we looked at everything, and we kind of put our heads together and said, hey, based upon what we know already, we're thinking XYZ could be done better, and ABC could be done less, and so forth and so forth. So the primary things that I really focused on was first, getting the store properly stocked. I mean, you walk into Tinderbox now, the humidor is so full, you can barely walk inside of it,
Right.
which is what I like. Two, the liquor selection was good at the time, but it could be better. We were catering to a very Scotch-only clientele, but bourbons at that time were making a fast run, so we're like, we need to get on the bourbon train as well. And then lastly, I always thought about education. I mean, you can hire anyone off the street to go run a register and sell cigars, but if they don't know anything or if they know less than who they're selling to, well, it's not going to work.
Right.
So education was a very prominent key for me as well. Getting our staff educated into knowing what they're selling, knowing why this cigar tastes like spice and pepper and why this cigar tastes like earth and leather. So we're big on the education phase of it now. We do training classes with a lot of the reps. We do training classes with the bar staff as well, so they know what they're serving, so they're somewhat better equipped to give you a suggestion. Say, hey, if you're smoking this cigar, it pairs well with this drink. So it's basically just covering all facets of making sure that when the customer comes in, he sees what he wants to buy, because our selection is bar none. Our liquor selection is also vast and plentiful. So again, they know they know they can find something that they don't want to drink. And third, they're going to have the education from our customers, they have the education from our employees that know why this cigar is going to be good, because So Forth knows what they're talking about. So that was the plan going in. It's always a perfecting plan. It's never going to be fully perfect. It's always going to be an always perfecting plan that you're always going to keep adding to it and making it better. Because at the end of the day, you're creating an experience. You're creating the experience for the customer. The customer can go anywhere in the state of Maryland and buy a cigar. They can go to Petworth. They can go to TG's in DC. They can go to Davids' store or Tobacco Leaf, wherever. They can go anywhere and buy a cigar and buy a drink. Why does Tinderbox make it a little bit different? And that's what you got to focus on.
And Raj, one of the other things you did that was different is you also supported women heavily, because you had the Smoke and Mirrors.
Absolutely.
And I know some of the ladies from Smoke and Mirrors are.
Shout out to Wanda.
Shout out to Kim and Wanda, who's
Donna.
watching, and Donna. So tell us a little bit about the Smoke and Mirrors.
So if you dive deep into the industry 5 years ago, the biggest growing segment in the premium cigar industry was and still is African American women. And right now at that time, there was no representation for them in the lounge. So we put our heads together. At that time, it was True Black who was heading up the Smoke and Mirrors group in that lounge. We put our heads together to make it better and kind of grow it from there in terms of membership experiences and events that they did, which turned out great. Shout out to True Black. She did a great job. True, unfortunately, had to step away for other reasons. So we then got the board back together and we made Wanda King our president, which, by the way, Wanda's been doing a phenomenal job. Wanda's been doing a phenomenal job. No complaints about her, what she's done with the help of Kim and Donna and the rest of the board. But now, the biggest growing segment in the industry has representation in a clientele that was mainly all men. So now when you go into Tinderbox, you see Wanda and Donna and all the girls in the back at their table, because everyone knows that's their table. So now they have representation. They have a comfortable feeling coming into a predominantly male clientele, and they feel comfortable about it.
Rob, you got anything, man?
Oh, you know me. I've always got something up my sleeve.
Where's the board? Where's the board?
We're
There
gonna do this one at a time.
That's
All right, so here we go. You know, the one thing I wanted to do is I always wanted to drill down. I always want to drill down on things, and so I want to ask the questions that people want answers to. But the one thing I want to make sure that I am never is disrespectful. So, Raj, I warned you before coming on the show, and here we are. You being a man of your word, here you are. So, me being a person of my word, a man of my word, I'm going to break out the Fact Finder 9000, which is right there, and it's trademarked, so try not to steal it. Okay? But what we got here is my first question is do you consider yourself a minority? And if you do consider yourself a minority, what types of disparaging remarks or treatments have you been subjected to since purchasing the Tinderbox? A lot of people, when I first moved to Charles County to the area, I received a crash course education in what it means to be black in Charles County. And so that's my first question for you. Either I could keep going or you can answer them one by one. It's totally up to you. I've got a total of 4 questions.
So absolutely I'm a minority. I consider myself a minority to the fullest degree. I mean, if this doesn't tell you I'm a minority, I don't know what does. But at the same time, I absolutely am a minority. Some of the stuff I dealt with in Charles County wasn't really as bad as many may think it was at that time. I mean, there weren't really any disparaging remarks or any type of blowback, so to speak, from any customer base about me taking over. So from that, it was at a minimal standpoint. I mean, we did lose a certain clientele when I took over, and the previous owner, Jeff, told me that certain clientele just won't support you because you're not that clientele. And he said, you can try your best at it, but if you're not worried about it, don't be worried about it. And I said, you know what? If people want to make a judgment on me just based upon my skin color and my ethnicity, then that's not business with me. I'm not going to go to the ends of the earth to make sure that certain clientele is happy just because I'm not that clientele.
Right.
So they left. It is what it is. We're going to focus on the clientele that supports us and has been supporting us. So that was my primary focus in that regard.
Okay. My second question here, sir, if you would like to come on over here, thank you. My second question is what does it feel like to have your life threatened? There is. I knew I was going to get a question, but if you would like to share the story, there is a story. If you would like to share your version of the story, or what it means to you. But now, me, I've won every gunfight that I've ever been in, and I've been in a few. But it's having been a former law enforcement officer, my situation when it comes to occupation and your situation are probably similar in, the occupational hazards of the job. But being a cigar store owner, I don't think anyone really counts on your life being threatened. So would you like to answer the question and then tell us your story, or tell us your story and then answer the question?
Well, and before he answers that, let me just say this, we're all about the positivity, but we also like to have facts. And, one thing I recognize during this show is, some people will divulge what they want to divulge. Some people will leave it and let it rest. But there was a lot of misconceptions out there, a lot of different stories out there, and a lot of bullshit, if you want to just let me, put it bluntly. And so, if Raj chooses to clear that up, that's on him. If he doesn't, we still don't respect him the same.
Absolutely.
Okay? Because at the end of the day, there's with some litigation stuff going on, he couldn't talk about it, he didn't talk about it, and so forth and so on. So if he chooses to, he chooses to. If he doesn't, we're not holding that against him, because that was a very serious issue.
Absolutely.
And you have to understand that. The viewers have to understand that. So, Raj, at your discretion, however you want to handle that question is how you handle it.
Sure.
I'm sure.
Thank you. So everyone knows who was involved. It was the guys up the street at Room 301. So first of all, I didn't know that there was that much deep hatred towards me from someone like that they would go to that length. But it really panned out from a liquor license, a liquor board hearing that we attended. So I attended that same hearing because the liquor board in Charles County only meets once a month. The second Thursday of every month is when the liquor board meets to discuss any and all business or future events or whatever have you. So I was at that meeting because we had a GTG Christmas party coming up the following month, and I was just there to simply get a permit to put an outside tent to have the overflow of the party, that we can serve liquor out there that day. That's what I was there for. But before me were the guys there, and they went up for their liquor hearing and they got denied. And I was sitting in the back just waiting for my turn to get called up. And on the way out, one of them was looking at me really weird, like, you want to kill me? And I had no idea, but they were under the impression that it was my doing that their liquor license got held up. not knowing that they were already being investigated for a fencing operation, cocaine dealings and trafficking, and whatever slew of other charges that came along with that. That's what they couldn't divulge at the liquor board hearing through law enforcement. But the law enforcement team did tell the liquor board, don't give them a license because they're being actively investigated, that even though they couldn't talk about it. So with that going forward, they thought it was my doing. I don't know how you pay off the liquor board and not have someone get a liquor license. That's God only knows what. That wasn't me, and I wasn't a part of that. But they had it in their minds that I was the reason they didn't get their liquor license. Thus, that's why their business was failing. And fast forward a little bit, my wife was visiting family one day. I was at home. I just got back to the gym. I was changing, and I get a call from my manager, Tony at the time, and he says, "Hey, there's 6 police cops in here that want to talk to you." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, give him the phone." So I spoke to him, and it was a detective, and he's like, "Hey, are you Raj Singh?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay, we need to talk to you like right now." I was like, "Okay." He's like, "We can come to you, or you can come to us." I was like, I'll come to you." So hurried up and got dressed on my way down there, and I called my lawyer, and I was like, "Hey, I don't know what's going on, but there's 6 cops that are waiting for me, so just want to keep you updated because I don't know what the hell's going on." So I get there, and there's 6 plainclothes detectives there. And they say, "Are you Raj?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Can we talk privately?" I'm like, "Sure." So we go in my office, and they say, "Do you know so-and-so up the street at room 301? I was like, "Yeah, they own 301 and that liquor store." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, they tried to have you killed." I was like, "What?" I thought it was a joke. He's like, "Oh, yeah, no. They really tried to have you killed. But don't worry, the guy they were talking to was an undercover hitman. So we got him." And it was just like mind-blowing at the time. I was like, "Is this serious?" He's like, "Oh, yeah." He's like, "They've been talking to him for a couple months, and they gave him pictures and addresses of yours and your schedule and the best time to hit you. They wanted to kill me coming outside the liquor board hearing next month and do it in front of my wife," from what they told me. So a little taken aback, and of course my wife was pretty emotional at that time. We got our bearings straight. No, don't worry about it. Nothing's gonna happen. You change up your schedule, you change up the way you move around, you get additional security because now apparently it was needed. But never in a million years would I have thought that it would come to that type of degree where someone wants to take you out because they think their business is failing because of stuff that you're doing.
And that's not something you definitely took as a joke. I wouldn't take it as a joke, and my mindset is, a little bit different.
At the end of the day, I mean, compete. You have a business, I have a business. Compete. That's what we're here for.
Okay. On to the next question. Thank you for answering that for us, by the way. The next question right here is, what business related, if you can see it right here, what business related keeps you awake at night?
What business?
What item? What type of business related item or type of like nightmare do you have business related that kind of keeps you awake at night? I think we all work related. All of us think about things at work when we're not working. So, what type of things business related do you that keeps you awake at night, that you constantly think about?
So didn't Raj really don't sleep? he don't sleep.
I sleep 4 hours a night. That's all
I can text him about 2 a.m. and Roger answer me back.
But that's a good question. So many things I can keep basically control of in my purview that I have access to. Theft, ordering, supplies, that's all stuff I can handle like within a snap. Things I can't handle are stuff like regulation and taxes. And it's what we actively fight for in Maryland. I'm part of a group called PCRAM. It's called Premium Cigar Retail Association of Maryland. It's me and 4 of the retailers that are in the state that actively work every year, paying our lobbyist team, meeting with delegates, having private dinners, just trying to keep making sure that Maryland stays a status quo at 15% OTP tax. OTP is tobacco tax. So we've been fighting hard with that for the last 8 years, and I believe we've done a pretty significant job because taxes haven't gone up. But it's a continuous fight every year because the easiest thing that people pick on politically wise are sin taxes, like liquor, your tobacco, gambling. They're the first ones to get hit because they have the smallest voice and the least opposition. So when it comes time every year for session time, me and the other retailers are actively involved, paying our lobbyists and just working the angles just to make sure that we have people that represent us at the delegate board that are going to vote no on a 75% OTP tax or a flavor ban or so forth. But that's a yearly fight that we always fight, and it's never going to stop.
Okay. And my last question, Jay, I don't mean to keep stepping on you, bro.
Oh no, do you, bro? I love the boy.
But my last question is, I'm want to say this here. What do you have to say to the people who might not like the way that you do business? And number 5 is, does the Tinderbox want to sponsor my 3 podcasts? So that's it right here. The Smoking Jacket podcast, comfortably uncomfortable, conservative minded. But what do you have to say? What do you have to say to those that, like you were saying earlier, they have a problem with competition and so on and so forth? So I know that there's people out there that don't necessarily, and I know for a fact there was, community endeavors like Vanessa right here saying, I know for a fact that Raj, the owner of the Tinderbox, I know firsthand, he is actively involved in the community between the Tinderbox golf tournament and, coming in and throwing in sponsorships in between, people to his different patrons and giving back to the community. I know that's a regular thing, but we just want to know, what do you have to say to those that might not necessarily agree with the way that you do business?
So I'll answer the second part of that question first. On our community give back, I'm not one to put out there and say, hey, the Tinderbox just donated XYZ to so-and-so foundation, so-and-so charity. I truly believe charity work is done selflessly. So if I need recognition for it, then it's not really charity. So whatever charity I do, whatever charity I give, I don't need to broadcast it. I don't need to tell anybody about it, because at the end of the day, charity is exactly that. It's for the help of people that need help.
Right.
So regardless of what you may not hear what I do community-wise or charity-wise, trust me, we do a lot. I just don't boast it out there because it doesn't need to be said. It just needs to be done.
Very good.
Going back to the way we do business, business is in my blood. I mean, my dad taught me everything I know. Shout out to my dad if he's watching. But business is what I know. Business is what I breathe. Business is what I am. So at the end of the day, you got to compete. I mean, I will find an angle where there's 1 or 2 different angles to make sure that we always stay ahead. And I'm going to make sure I never stop doing this. Because the minute you get comfortable, the minute you get complacent, is the minute people run back behind you and gain an advantage. So all I can say is be sharp. Be sharp at what you do. Be on top of what you do. And at the same time, I mean, you gotta have ideas. You gotta have focus. You gotta have a game plan coming in. You just can't do things on the fly because you think it sounds right. You gotta have a game plan on what you're doing business-wise. That makes sense. Now, most people can't do what we do because for them it won't make sense, and I understand that. But I'm not going to be on here telling my trade secrets. I mean, how I do things is how I do things. You figure it out.
Well, if you're not going to tell me what your secrets are, then you can at least go to question number 5 and sponsor a brother. You know what I mean? Like we all know. we can use you here. We need to talk.
Yeah, I will tell you this. From the business perspective and business side of things, Ryan has helped more than most. As it was already said, a lot more, because even in the opening of this business, how he has helped Petworth Cigars, and tremendously, and that's going to lead me to something I watched earlier today with Raj. In opening up a business, because if you don't understand in the opening up of the business and what you need and how you need to have the capital, et cetera, and think about accruing this and accruing that, and thinking forward and forward thinking, then you're gonna be in the wrong business and you're gonna fail. So he's helped me. People say, "Oh well, he only helped you because he's in DC." Bull. He helped me because he had the one desire. He had the. I mean, look. Let me put it this way. At the end of the day, Raj ain't have to help nothing. When I left the Tinderbox, I didn't leave on good terms. I put it out there. Raj scheduled me on a holiday one day, and I didn't show the hell up because I didn't want to work on a holiday.
And it's no bad blood.
And it hasn't been no bad blood.
Never.
You know what I mean? So,
he just didn't show up.
He sent me because it was 4th of July. And I was like, damn, And so at the end of the day, it was like, and he's like, oh, Chris, I thought we was a little better than that, And he was right, but But that did not put any bad blood, and he definitely, you know, stepped up to the plate and said, hey, look, you know, you get ready to open up, you get ready to do this. Matter of fact, just speak to the fact of what I heard earlier today and listened to. You talked about, and somebody asked you the question about if anyone had a desire to open up this business, what would you say to them, and what would you recommend? I got it verbatim from the podcast, but I'm gonna let you tell it to our audience.
So, first of all, I mean, if you're looking to get into the cigar business, I mean,
excuse me one second, Raj. Let me just address this. J Mac. You try not showing up for one day and your ass is fine. I just had to get that out because I would forget to get her. J Mac, what's going on? Go ahead, Raj. I'm sorry.
If you're looking to get into the cigar business, you got to understand at the end of the day, it's a business. A lot of guys get in this business because they like cigars, they like smoking cigars, they like drinking, and they're gonna think it's gonna be an easy step into a business. You got to look at it first and foremost as a business, and a business that makes money. No one's running a charity selling cigars and liquor. So understand first it's a business, then it can be a hobby. But first and foremost, it's a business. And second of all, you got to have a game plan. You got to have a business plan. You have to have all the accoutrements to have a successful business future laid out. Most guys make the mistake of just blowing their load on just decorating their lounge and opening the doors from day one, thinking you're going to make money from day one. Not the case. You got to be prepared to make money possibly in month 6, possibly in month 12, possibly in month 18. Can you go the long haul with rent, payroll, taxes, overhead expenditure, and still keep the doors open without making money? Can you rely on making only razor-thin profits for so long before you tap out? You have to properly schedule it out and making sure that what you have in the bag supporting you for when you open is still there 6 months from now, a year from now, 18 months from now. Because again, if it's a new business, you're not going to make money from day one.
Mm-hmm.
And you also have to invest in, you know, reinventing the business and pivoting. You actually redesigned the lounge,
right? So
like at least twice, right?
Yeah. So funny story about that. So the day COVID hit, which I believe was March 20th of 2020, we called our construction crew and everybody. I was like, listen, I don't know how much long we have for the shutdown to be over. It might be a week, it might be 2 weeks, not knowing it's going to be months. We didn't have to rush like the way we did, but we cleared everything out. We fixed the ventilation. We got new furniture in. I mean, we did it. We turned it around in 2 weeks' time.
And he was in there working himself.
Yes.
I mean, literally, I had just celebrated my birthday there 7 days before. You remember that?
I do remember that.
And oh boy, I was lit. Anyway, I think Raj probably said one day, man, you drink more Macallan than I could.
I've never seen someone drink so much Macallan every time I've been there. He can hold his Macallan.
Love it. But you know, there was and I'm gonna make this my last before I turn it over to the rest of the crew. But you had there was a time when we used to be able to drink at the Tinderbox, and I know you cut that out. So go ahead and tell us why, because I understood that. I saw that on the podcast, and I understand the reason because you said, hey, if I'm, you know, there's nobody at top of me. If there's nobody to fact check me, et cetera, so forth and so on. Break that down for me, man.
So when I took over the Tinderbox, I'll go back a little bit further. When I took over the Tinderbox, employees apparently were allowed to drink while they worked, were allowed to smoke while they worked. So I didn't cut out the smoking part right away, but I did cut out the drinking part right away because how are you going to be drinking and handling money and still be in a down state of mind?
Yes.
So that was automatically cut out. And then the smoking aspect was actually also cut out because at the same time, there's so much work to do at Tinderbox every day. For me to be smoking my cigar, putting it down, going to work, coming back out, smoking my cigar, that's going to slow me down. So I, myself, also don't smoke at the Tinderbox while I work. I smoke at the end of the night or towards the end of the night once everything's done. Once the work is done, once everything's put away, once everything's priced out, once everything is checked in, cool, let's celebrate. Let's enjoy a cigar. Let's partake in what we sell, and let's enjoy the last hour we have of the shift. But not before everything's done. So unfortunately, and I know my employees don't like me about this, but we don't smoke on shift and we don't drink on shift until the night's over.
That's right. And it is what it is. I mean, first of all, you know, people getting paid to do a job and et cetera and so forth. You know, we still allow the smoking here, but we cut the drinking. And people tried here and there, and it just ain't gonna happen again. But because the fact is that, you know, mistakes can be made, they will get made. and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's Jay Ferg, man. We haven't heard from you a while. I know we've been hogging this, man. But and let me say this. Got to say this. Got some proud supporters of the Tinderbox here in the lounge. All right. They came to represent. It's all good. Matter of fact, just let me do this. Come on around. Where Russell at? What's up, man? Got Russell! Come on, that's fancy. All right, I got you. And so appreciate them coming down. I did something special today for the lounge. Hey, we got Daz here. What's up? Hey. And today is half price drinks until closing.
We do have a comment from the audience.
All right.
Raj has great customer service. He makes sure his clients are greeted. He greets everybody. He walks in. He talks to everybody. He makes you feel like family. I've only been smoking for 2 years. His lounge was the first lounge I walked into, and I've been a committed cigar smoker ever since. But Raj has excellent customer service. Makes every customer feel like family. So we are forever Tinderbox customers.
And we appreciate you every now and then.
We visit all the lounges, but Tinderbox is our home lounge, and we love Raj, and we here to support.
Exactly. So we thank you for that. Jay Ferg, getting back to you, man. Hold on, let me come out of this right here. What's going on, man? I know you don't know this area well, but you got anything else for Raj?
Yeah. So my question is, do you have any plans for expansion in the area?
So expansion in the area, we're still kind of up in the air about it, but expansion in Tinderbox, we are actively pursuing. That's all I can say.
Okay. All right. Well, you heard that first. Actively looking at expansion, and first of all, you don't let every part of your business secrets out. And you can't always give anyone the upper hand. And,
I've been trying. I've been after Raj for years to get that rooftop dance floor.
Do you want stripper poles too?
Only if you're the one dancing on them.
Everybody cover their eyes. Really? Hey.
No thank you.
All right. Yeah. So, Raj, look, man, I certainly definitely appreciate you taking the time coming down. It means a heck. Hold up. Lee, my birthday buddy there. We share the same birthday. Lee, what's up, man? We're gonna have to work on a collaboration or something, man. I don't know. DC, Maryland, what do they call it? Bar crawl, lounge crawl, whatever. I don't know. Last man standing. Me and Rob had the privilege of celebrating our birthday. Rob, you March 15th.
2 days after yours.
Yeah. And so we had a great time last year. He came down, celebrated. We had a heck of a time. So we're going to have to do something with Lee, connect with him, and do a Tinderbox Petworth collaboration and make it happen. Yeah.
Real quick,
I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Lee unfortunately lost his dad last Wednesday. Man. Today was the wake, the funeral's tomorrow. So again, my condolences go out to Lee and his family for losing the patriarch. Lee.
Definitely, man. Condolences to you, prayers to your family, my brother, and definitely anything you need on this end that we could possibly do, let us know, man. I know that's a heavy loss and a heavy hit, brother. Stay strong. Prayers to you, man. You're welcome, my brother. You're welcome. So, Raj, any closing remarks? Any help you could provide? Further help you could provide? Advice to the Petworth family, to myself, to Diane, before we, get ready to close out, or that we give anybody in the audience any opportunity to offer any questions or any questions that we'll take before we close out.
Well, this is my first time at Petworth, and I just want to commend Chris and Diane on building a beautiful store. I mean, this place is amazing. If you haven't been here yet, please make it down here. This is an amazing shop. It's part of DC, and it's amazing. The liquor selection is great. The cigar selection is great. Obviously, you already know about the customer service, bar none. So, I mean, if you haven't made it down to Petworth yet, please be down here. Support guys like Chris and Diane because they deserve it. They deserve every bit of it.
Yeah!
Got a question?
Yep.
Kim.
Right. Oh, Kim, I'm sorry. Kim, got a question. Where we at?
So she's asking about the bands not being on.
Oh, what was the reasoning? Kim Bradfield, the real deal. She co-hosted with me about a month ago at OC Cigar Lounge, and I appreciate that. But her question is, what was your reasoning for not having the Friday night bands with G-Swag?
So once COVID hit, obviously the lounge side shut down, and it was just retail side. And I think at one point we were the only cigar lounge, or one of the only cigar lounges that was still open in Maryland during COVID. So that was quite a feat. But once that happened, we had to nix out the bands, obviously. And then even when the reopening started, it was still a 10 p.m. closure, so there was no point putting the band in. And then fast forward to when all restrictions were lifted and we could have the band in there, we chose to just kind of hold off because the response from the majority of our customer clientele base was they didn't want the band anymore. They wanted to come into a cigar lounge and make it feel like a cigar lounge where it's quiet. They're not yelling at each other over music.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'd be a fool not to listen. If the majority of my customer base is telling me that, hey, we like the band, but we don't need the band, pause it. So you got to listen to your customer clientele base. That doesn't mean they're not going to be back there. We're just working through some things right now that's going to be able to get them back in there in a way that we think is suffice.
And that's epic because we tried to predicate things on being a relaxed environment. That when people come in, make them feel at home. People come in, they want to telework. In the evening, they still don't want the whole shenanigans of this, that, and the other. So I applaud you for that move. But I will have to say, during the time for COVID, man, you made one of the most epic moves, business decisions. I mean, really, known the man. I mean, to not have to shut down, and I know what you did. I mean, it's no secret. Can you explain that to people? I mean, because it was epic. And when it happened, I asked Diane, I said, you know what? They're going to try to shut us down. They put us in the restaurant category. Restaurants got to shut us down, but liquor stores can remain open. Explain that, man.
So obviously we sell liquor at Tinderbox. So once COVID hit, the state of Maryland gave a provision to where bars could sell liquor as a liquor store, liquor to go essentially. And at that time we had good partners in the county, good partners in the state that kind of had our back, and they kind of helped us stay open in a legal fashion to where if anyone came to check on us, whether it's from Maryland State Police or the health board, we had the proper credentials to stay open legally because of what our partners were able to do for us. And we just basically, we use the liquor as kind of like a lost leader to get customers inside the store. I mean, if I bought a bottle of Hennessy for $35, I was selling it at $36. I didn't care about the liquor. I wanted you to come in for the bottle, but then buy cigars. Because at the end of the day, we're a cigar lounge. Our primary focus is cigars, and it's always going to be cigars.
And I learned that particular part of business by just dealing with another individual in a different capacity. That the idea is to get people inside the lounge, and if you make $1 profit, it's $1 profit. If you make $2, it's $2 profit. So but the one thing about it is they come in the lounge, they see other stuff that may attract them. And, you got things going on where they just bought their bottle. Now they're looking at the cigars. Oh, I might as well grab a couple of these. And now you just got your, markup and et cetera on the other end. And then potentially maybe lifelong customer,
My accountant hated it. He said, I don't know what you're doing with your liquor, but your GP, your gross profit on liquor is horrendous. I'm like, don't worry about it. Right.
And look, at the end of the day, people you run numbers better than anybody I've ever seen. A true accountant may not understand it like we understand it because it's a different business aspect of what you're doing versus what they're doing and what they're looking at. And at the end of the day, as long as we're satisfied with our bottom line, we're satisfied with our bottom line. Jamie said, Raj, the biggest complaint I hear and mention Tinderbox's ventilation. I, for a fact, know that he now has hospital-grade ventilation.
So we, during COVID, we were able to install our full ventilation system, which we've been planning for years. But the biggest hiccup was when to do it, because it really required a 10 to 12 day shutdown of our lounge. And if anyone knows, me shutting down our lounge for 10 to 12 days during business hours is not going to happen. So COVID, I'm not going to say it was a blessing, but it was an opportunity for me to get it done quickly. And that's what I took full advantage of. So right now we have 2 Aeon units. The Aeon units by each unit themselves cost $80,000. So it's $160,000 before install on these units. If you haven't been back there yet to see the difference, I implore you to come by and check it out after you come to Petworth. First, obviously, stop by Tinderbox and check out our
well, thank you for that plug, man. Thank you for that plug, man. Dave says, look, you know, one of the things, had to get creative here at Petworth myself. When they tried to shut us down and et cetera, they told us, they changed a little bit on us, flipped the script on us a little bit. So they told us, unless you get a menu, you gotta shut the doors. And so we asked them, well, what has to be on the menu? What is considered a menu? They said any items on the menu. So yes, Dave, the menu I came up with was peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, a peanut butter sandwich, and a hard-boiled egg. And we sent that to DCIA. They approved the menu. And yes, you could come to Petworth at the time during COVID, so we didn't have to shut down. If you wanted a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for $2, and somebody, some butthole came in and said, hey, I hear y'all got peanut butter and jelly. Can I get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Luckily, I did have the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, so I spent half the majority of my time back there making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And hey, so that's what we did. Had to get creative. So stay open the best way we can and make good business decisions. Right. Come and see, AKA the best angry You know what I mean?
Angry bartender?
Yeah.
That's Lee.
That's Lee?
That's Lee.
Oh, Lee. Lee, man, you always treat me good when I come there, bro. So, look, Raj, man, we thank you, man. I don't want to run over our time. Jay Ferg, wait a minute. Let me go back and exit this right here and get our co-host. Look, Lanessa, you got anything in closing?
I just wanted to say in closing, thank you so much for what you bring to the community, for what you've done. Shout out to the support you've given to the Good Time Gang as well,
Absolutely.
and all you've done there, and just keep expanding. So we look forward to it.
Thank you.
Jay Ferg.
Oh yeah, man, it's good to meet you finally. Good information that you delivered tonight. And next time in the DMV, hope to come meet you in person and smoke at the Tinderbox.
Only if the first drink and cigars on me.
Done.
He's definitely
And he definitely when he comes in September, I'm gonna personally bring him up to the Tinderbox, and we're gonna have a good time, man. Rob, what you got, man?
Just want to say, thanks for coming on the show, Raj. Really appreciate you, bro. My biggest thing is thanks for being a good sport, man. A lot of people they get in their feelings, and I asked some hard questions tonight, and you hit them right on grand slam right out of the park. And I expected nothing less. So and I appreciate it. So first drink and cigar on you.
we got tonight.
And yeah, absolutely.
I just want to say something. There's a lot of cigar podcasts right now out there, the Cigar Authority and so forth, or Cigar Dave, whatever have you. This is the only minority cigar podcast that I've seen that's been out that's doing phenomenal. So if you aren't watching, or if you aren't sharing other people to watch, then you do get an injustice. Because what Chris, Lanessa, Jay Ferg, and Rob have done here, it's groundwork frame. I mean, it's only going to get better and better, but it's only going to happen with support. So again, this is one of the only minority cigar podcasts that I know of that does a phenomenal job of not just looking at the industry, but looking outside the industry and looking at questions that people want to hear. So big ups to you guys for doing a phenomenal job. I mean, I watch all your episodes.
Thank you. Thank you.
I had no idea, but
You had no idea.
Yeah,
It's so humble.
It truly is a great cigar.
appreciate it. I mean, we still working on some things, trying to get it a little bit more professional. Just got some equipment in that you got to learn how to use. Rob definitely, he's on another podcast. I watch it on Sundays. Phenomenal, in terms of the production and whatnot, and great. So we're just trying to get there. Technology is not my forte.
Great job.
I'm maneuvering through, some of this stuff, and it's taxing, but definitely appreciate you, man. I mean, look, and I always close with some positive stuff. If you don't ever understand the aspects of what it is to take and run business, to do business, to guard your business, to protect your business. There's a lot of misconceptions. People thought this show was going to be about griping and this, that, and the other, and all this other crap. No, that's not what it's all about. It's about understanding the man, the business, the tinderbox, how business gets done, how business is run, and that's what this is about. Because if you worried about what the next man doing, or the next man is worrying about what you're doing, you going really worry yourself to death over nothing. Do your business, run it how it's supposed to be run. And at the end of the day, however, business comes to you based on how you run it, then you've done your job to make business happen and to make your venue the best venue to come to. Support goes all the way around.
Yeah.
It's what people feel like the day when they wake up. I'm going to go here, I'm going to go there, I'm going to go there. I know this business providing this business is providing that. And whatever you feel like that day, that's what you support, and how you support and how you come together. This right here, what I have in my hand is the passion that brings people together to network, to do things, to get business done inside lounges, even outside of lounges. And we provide something for everybody. It only gets messed up when people start using this crap and getting outside the pocket and this, that, and the other. Drink responsibly, speak responsibly, and do things responsibly. And Raj, man, to the industry, you have been great. He talked about charity.
Yep.
Raj has been a lot of things to a lot of people, and more good than most people think, in terms of bad. If you're on the outside looking in, you ain't gonna never understand it. Get to know the man, get to know, who he is and what he's about and how business gets done. Because at the end of the day, to be honest with you, the whole year that I had and I took and watched how he did business is how things get done here at Petworth. And, it's being guarded of what you had. You have a baby, you go through 9 months of labor. This was 3 years of labor. Tinderbox was a year of dealing with the labor pains of, I woke up today and I felt like this and I feel like this. The deal canceled, But he got over it. He survived it. Now it's happened, and now it's matured into its own entity. And so yes, you do things, and you do things to protect your business and guard it. And I always say this, if we don't ever in the podcast heard me say this a whole lot of times, it's not competition, it's coalition. If you ever bring all the business together to form a coalition to make things happen and to work together, then believe me, the surrounding businesses around you will operate better, run better, and we can all be happy in the different places that we go and still support each other in some kind of capacity. Period. End of story. Hey, Raj, I appreciate you, man. There you go. So, man, gotta get this toast. And I gotta say, Raj came down and supported the lounge. I had cigars and drinks on deck already. Raj went to the humidor and bought 4 of the most coveted Padrones you could smoke, the 50th. And so I appreciate you, man. I'm loving it right now because I'm not getting high on my own product. At the price that I sell these. No, it ain't like I'm going to the humidor and smoke no $52 cigar.
When you come into Petworth, pay the full price. Don't ask for a dealer discount because
geez.
at the end of the day, we're all small business owners. We need to make our money. We need to make our nut because it's expensive running these places.
You know, and Raj, man, I'm gonna tell you, I don't think people understand that. Let me get this out because your venue is a lot bigger than what this is, and a lot bigger than most. And so, the reason I stay so guarded with certain things here is because when you have a smaller capacity, every seat accounts differently than the bigger venue. And so, I stay guarded about, what, every seat is, doing at the, I don't, so much try to get so anal about it, but people have to understand, and, when Diane crunch numbers on paper, I crunch numbers in my head. And being a mathematician, I could go to the register and look at, what it is, and I go to sleep. You asked the question, Rob. What is your biggest nemesis when you go to sleep at night? Mine is when I look at those numbers, I go to sleep. How do you increase that? Et cetera, so forth and so on. So, it's a constant struggle, a constant headache. And until you open up your own, you will never really understand it until you do it yourself.
It's all about business, baby.
That's never personal. All about business. All right. So with that being said, hey, look, I appreciate everyone that has come on. Those that are on Facebook right now, thank you for the 29 that we got on Facebook. Those that are on YouTube, I haven't looked at those numbers yet, but I know by the end of the day, tomorrow, we usually get up into the 600-700s, and I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing it. Eric Willer, man, appreciate you. Shout out to some of those folks that came on and appreciate the fact that you took the time to be with us today, partner with us. And Raj, I appreciate all your remarks, comments, and the support that you've been providing to Petworth Cigar.
Absolutely.
All right. With that being said,
All right, Raj!
we out.